On behalf of all assembled here today, I should now like to invite our newest alumna, Dr. Constance Backhouse, to address Convocation.
Good morning. To prepare for this speech, I thought it might help to seek guidance from my children, both of whom have recently graduated. What, I asked them, do you think graduates would like to hear? And they looked blank. Mom, they said, forget it. You're mostly irrelevant, just another boring speaker. I suppose there's something to be said for brutal honesty. So next, I took careful notes of the commencement addresses I heard at Harvard University a few weeks ago. And there, they thoughtfully run competitions for the post of the commencement speaker. Only the best are chosen. One began his address with the following: "For some of you, this is the climax. Life is downhill from here." Fortunately, few people caught the meaning because following the Harvard tradition, he delivered his oration in Latin. If there is a ray of sunshine here, the bar seems set awfully low, and it's going to be hard to do worse. And we must all be grateful that the university suggests I limit my remarks to 10 minutes. I should commence by mentioning that this honor has come as something of a surprise, and not only to me. When the news surfaced, many of my former and current colleagues wrote to me to express complete astonishment that someone who had spent so many years criticizing the university for its chilly climate for women should now be celebrated so generously. It says much about the changes that have occurred over the past decade, and it speaks to the tenacious commitment of so many faculty and staff within Western to the principles of equity and inclusivity. It is particularly special for me to receive an honorary doctorate at the graduation of the Faculty of Education, and particularly unexpected. A brief history may help to explain. I started my career as a law professor some 30 years ago, with no training whatsoever in how to teach. I was completing a graduate law degree at Harvard, and the then law dean from Western, who was David Johnston, who has gone on to become the Governor General of Canada, flew down to interview us, looking for potential recruits to hire. He discovered I was a feminist and said to me, "We need one of those." It was a bold gesture at the time, but the stress was on the word one. There was to be no inundation of wild-eyed feminist radicals. If he had not proactively offered me the job, I would never have applied. There were so few women teaching in university when I went through, it seemed unimaginable that there would be careers there for us. Nevertheless, I trekked off to the new job, arriving several months later, only to discover that David Johnston had decamped to McGill, abandoning me to a faculty that apparently did not think they needed one of those. The new dean welcomed me, proudly sporting a tie with the motto, "Male Chauvinist Pig." I was unrelenting, they were more so, and it soon degenerated into open warfare. But I was determined to stick it out, and so I got on with the business of teaching. Badly. That would be an understatement. I really had no clue how to teach law or anything else for that matter. And my students were as suspicious of me as my colleagues were. So the first year ended with a rout. Students then were asked to evaluate their teachers on a 10-point scale, with 10 being the top and 1 being the bottom. Most of my fellow professors scored 7 or better. I got a 2. I don't think anyone had ever seen a score that low. And they weren't wrong. I really couldn't teach very well. The university set in expert advisors to try to assist me, and they offered valuable advice, but they also warned me that some students were very resistant to being taught by a feminist, and that I would face more headwinds ahead. Another expert feminist colleague at Western was studying the gendered dimensions that face the first women to teach in universities, and she advised me that women faced a challenging set of assumptions. If we came across as feminine, we were perceived as lacking in authority and unfit to command the classroom. If we came across as masculine, we were perceived as nasty, aggressive, and unfit to teach. It was like walking a tightrope, she explained. You had to negotiate an image that was neither feminine nor masculine, teetering precariously right through the middle. And it's an image that stayed with me as I watched the television news this morning, the great Walenda walking across Niagara Falls. Trying not to topple, there I was, doing this impossible balancing act. Now, I'm sure many of you as students have had haunted dreams of arriving to sit an exam only to discover you forgot to study that course. I traded those nightmares for the nightmare of arriving at the pedestal in front of a classroom full of staring students, only to realize I was in the wrong course, with the wrong notes, without any clothes on. Recklessly, I faced my second year, consoling myself that the low score of 2 had not been widely publicized. Come September, I thought, I would have a whole new cohort of students, a chance to start over. Little did I reckon that the first week of classes, the student newspaper would run a feature on the 10 worst profs in the university, with the subtitle, very catchy, "Avoid them at all costs." My score of 2 netted me almost first prize on that list. And there I was, on the banner front page. Suddenly, the whole world knew I couldn't teach. To my mortification, those newspapers made their way into the wider community, and I ran into myself on the newsstands across the city. Few of us were surprised when at the end of year 2, I again received a score of 2. It looked like I was doomed. I survived, rescued by a combination of things. First, I buried myself in my research, feminist history projects that ironically turned out to be extraordinarily helpful to my career. Second, several of my colleagues in the law school took pity on me and offered generous support. Thirdly, I found myself nurtured, buoyed up, and inspired by a marvelous community of feminists inside Western and in the wider London community, and they gave me strength to carry on. Feminists often remind ourselves that no woman succeeds on her own. Whatever I have accomplished has been with the unwavering support of my feminist colleagues and students, and it is they, not me, who should by rights be receiving this doctorate on stage today. Flashing forward some 30 years later, I'm relieved to report that occasionally I receive reasonably good evaluation scores. But every year I still catch my breath when I open the evaluations, terrified that I will see the number 2. It was an inauspicious start. I was not a quick study, and it has been a long haul, and I remain humbled by those scores of 2. Hence my sense of awe that I am among you today, experts in pedagogy and the discipline of education. I think it's important to emphasize how much we are beholden to the expertise of the Faculty of Education that brings to those of us who struggle to learn how to teach so much knowledge. And I believe that teachers are the lifeblood of our future. So I have two messages today. First, it's very important on this auspicious graduation day to think back on the teachers who brought us to this moment. None of us gets to the end of a graduation university degree without having been deeply touched by one or more gifted teachers. I had a kindergarten teacher who thought I was a whiz. My grade 11 English teacher taught me to write. My Latin American history professor conveyed the magic and the romance of studying history. And I expect for all of the graduates and all of their families and friends who are here in the room today, and all of the professors on the podium and in the audience, all of us have had some remarkable teachers in our lives who believed in us, who challenged us, who drew out the best in us. And I wonder often why we do not publicly recognize our great teachers for their extraordinary talents. If our society properly valued what was most important in life, it wouldn't be the financiers, the professional athletes, or the movie stars who took home the largest salaries, who were famously revered. Teachers would be at the pinnacle. Teaching would be the career that everyone aspired to. Our best teachers would become icons, lionized by society, held up as inspirational, life-changing, and precious. Secondly, I hope you take heart from my saga of the grades of 2. I suspect few of you will hit bottom lower than I did. And if that should unaccountably happen, please get in touch so we can commiserate personally. My suspicion is none of you will see 2s in your career. After all, you had the foresight to choose education as your degree. Your paths will undoubtedly soar in wonderful, diverse directions. So I will close by taking the last-ditch advice of my nephew, who suggested a graduation speaker should produce razzle-dazzle. And I struggled to try to determine what that might be, and so I turned to the words of Dr. Seuss. At the age of 86, he wrote the remarkable book, Oh, the Places You'll Go. And in some ways, it's the lovely flip side of my infamous scores of 2. Oh, the places you'll go. There's fun to be done. There are points to be scored. There are games to be won. You have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. On you will go, though the weather be foul. On you will go, though your enemies prowl. Onward up many a frightening creek, though your arms may get sore and your sneakers may leak. And will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98.25% guaranteed. Good luck, graduates. We're rooting for you.